Wow, what a stormy way to begin a spring evening concert, huh? I'm Eric Edberg, the founding artistic director of the Greencastle Summer Music Festival, now the Greencastle Virtual Music Festival, until we're able to have a resumption of live concerts at Gobin Church, which looks like it might happen in June of 2021. So stay tuned for that. Meanwhile, you can join us on Wednesday nights for a watch party as our programs go live, so to speak. They're pre-recorded, but they debut then. We have a watch party on Zoom and a post-concert discussion at GVMF live, and we would love to have you with us, especially next week. We have a live stream by the multi-Grammy Award-winning violinist Mark O'Connor and his wife Maggie from their home in North Carolina, and I do not know if we're going to be able to replay those, so it might be Wednesday night only. Okay, we are calling tonight's program A Winter Journey Concludes. And the winter journey we're referring to on one level is Franz Schubert's great song cycle, Winterreise, or Winter Journey, 24 songs on text by Wilhelm Müller that Claude Cymerman and I arranged, so to speak, for cello and piano. We sat down in Gobin Church with Matt Champagne recording us back in January, and just played the whole thing through slightly out of order because we had Ming Hui Kuo turning pages for Claude for the few songs that he needed. We did everything one take, live to tape. I think only the very last song did we do twice. First time, of course, I'd ever played them. They're really powerful. And to me, what's particularly special about playing these songs now, in this kind of experiment of doing them as instrumental pieces, is that, you know, we are about providing experiences of connection through shared out experiences. And, you know, more than ever during the pandemic shutdown, I have come to see how crucial human relationships are, how crucial it is for us to be connected with each other, how painful isolation is. And, you know, I'm fortunate. I'm married, and my spouse works out of town, and I have spent much of this last year just by myself. At times, you know, afraid, you know, early in the process to even go to the grocery store, masked, wearing gloves, you know, wiping everything down. Remember those days? And, you know, if you live by yourself or you spend a lot of time by yourself, you know what that kind of isolation is like. And these pieces are really about that. The protagonist of the poems by Wilhelm Müller that Schubert used for these has fallen in love. He's a young man fallen in love with a young woman. Things don't work out. I don't know if she rejects him or he's prevented from, you know, even connecting with her. But he's brokenhearted. He's deprived of connection. He's deprived of love. And he goes on this journey in the winter. And of course, the texts are about the physical winter, but this is also a spiritual winter. And people have interpreted many ways, you know, in some ways over the course of the 24 songs. It's like going from being a young person to being an old person. And there's a lot of mystery in it. So there's so much, when you read the text, there's so much about this guy's suffering in loneliness. And if you've suffered in loneliness, like I think all of us have at times, and you've lost someone or lost multiple people, like I have, and maybe all of us has, you know, these are particularly moving and cathartic songs. So let's listen to some more. We started with the 18th in the cycle. The previous 17 we've played on other programs. That was Der stürmische Morgen, and I apologize to anybody who actually knows how to pronounce German, but I kind of like making up my own. The stormy morning. And in that song, the storm is an image of his heart, wild and cold like the winter. And now we're going to hear the 19th and 20th songs. First, Täuschung, or deception. A dancing light wants to lead him astray, and he is glad to go along. behind ice and night and horror, it shows him a warm, bright house and a loving wife within. God, what a beautiful fantasy, huh? Illusion is all he has to go on. I don't know, sometimes that's all we have, memories, illusions, fantasies. And number 20, dear Wegweiser, or the signpost. Why do I take secret ways and avoid other travelers? I've committed no crime. What foolish desire drives me to seek the wastelands? He journeys endlessly, seeking peace, finding none. A signpost points the way. I must travel a road where no one has ever yet returned. Well, it's such beautiful music, isn't it? And Claude plays it so exquisitely. As I do this, what I do is I listen to the music as we put it together, and then when it's time for some comments, I record the comments. So I just listened to that, and I actually was moved to tears by the piece, and I'm struck by the irony, of art, that we are connecting over this music, which is about being disconnected and isolated, and it's so beautifully sad, and how it is that we will seek out experiences, even paying money to cry, and what a relief that can be. And it's just a great privilege for me as a musician to play with Claude. We've been playing together since April of 1988, when I first came to visit DePauw and interview to be the cello professor. Now I'm retired, like Claude is, from full-time teaching in the School of Music, but certainly not retired from playing or from making music or from sharing music. And one of the things that struck me the very first time that I played with Claude was there was this kind of sense of connection in dialogue. And Claude told me the other day that when he was a student at the Paris Conservatoire, he was accompanying other students to make some extra money, and the flute professor wanted to speak to him, and he was, afraid he had screwed something up or was somehow in trouble, and the flute professor said, "Claude, I don't know how you do it, but my students play better when they play with you." And I think many of us over the years have had that experience, that we play better when we play with Claude, because Claude, here's my explanation, Claude really listens. Claude really connects with and is willing to be connected to the people he plays with. So when you make music with Claude, you're not ignored, you're not accompanied like he's following you or you're in a real dialogue, and it's a supportive, empowering kind of thing. It's like when you have a conversation with a friend that you really click with, and things happen that you never would have thought of on your own. Well, that's what happens when people play with Claude. So I'm so glad that I am able to share that with you. Okay, we're going to hear two more songs. So that was those were numbers 19 and 20. So here are 21 and 22. First, Das Wirtshaus, or the inn. So think of, an inn where you want to go to stay. Well, our desolate protagonist comes to a graveyard, and he wants to enter, but all the rooms in this inn are taken. So he resolves to go on his way with his faithful walking stick. There's not even a grave available for him. That kind of loneliness, forlornness. And the next song, number 22, Mut, Have Courage. He shakes the snow from his face and sings cheerfully to silence his heart's stirrings, striding into the world against wind and weather. And he's feeling pretty low. If there's no God on earth, then we ourselves are gods, he cries out. this winter journey is almost over. Just 2 songs to go, and hopefully the pandemic coronavirus winter journey is almost over too. And we look forward to being together in person, hopefully in June at Gobin Church. We will keep you informed about that, but I'm very excited that that may be coming. Again, wow, art. We seek out experiences that will make us cry. Music like this, music, we connect through this music of desolation and isolation. And wow, what a thing it was to be part of this process with Claude and Schubert. And I'll just share that while we were recording this, like all human beings, when you're recording something, especially if you're going to do it live to tape without retakes, you can get a little, uptight. And that happens to classical musicians. And so what I do is I think of playing for a particular person or group of people that I love. Sometimes I think of you all. I certainly do that when I'm recording these comments. But back in January, when we were recording this together, I thought, I'm going to play for my grandchildren. I was starting to get self-conscious and a little uptight. So I said, I'm going to play for my grandchildren. Well, I don't have any grandchildren yet. But I thought, well, yeah, I want to play for somebody who loves me and somebody I love and who's not going to care if I make a mistake, because we made some, there's some little bit of out-of-tune notes. It's human. We want these concerts to be like a live concert and as human, as fully human as possible, including, little goofs and errors that if you were recording for a CD or something, you might do a bunch of takes and put together. Anyway, so I thought about my grandchildren, and I was particularly thinking about my son's grandchildren to be. And then the next day I talked to my son. Turned out that his wife is pregnant. They're expecting. So there was this, really profound, like psychic international connection. They live in China. So in China, they don't let you know what the sex of the baby is going to be. So we affectionately are referring to our grandchild to be as Dumpling. So this was music for Dumpling. All right, so these last 2 songs are kind of forlorn and enigmatic. And let me tell you the texts. First is Die Nebensonnen, which may be my totally made-up German pronunciation, or the Sun Dogs. Our protagonist sees 3 suns, so very symbolic, staring at him in the sky. You are not my sons, he says. Once I too had 3, but the best 2 have now set. If only the 3rd would follow, I'll be happier in the darkness. And wow, God, when we're depressed, when we're lonely, sometimes we be happier in the darkness, right? And finally, the last song, which is the most famous of all 24, I believe, Der Leiermann, or the hurdy-gurdy man. Imagine this cranked string instrument, and it's the dead of winter, and back in the village stands a hurdy-gurdy man, cranking his instrument with frozen fingers. His begging bowl is always empty. No one listens, and the dogs growl at him, but his playing never stops. Strange old man, shall I come with you? Will you play your hurdy-gurdy to accompany my songs? Very enigmatic to me. Conclusion reminds me of that T.S. Eliot poem that ends with, this is the way the world ends. This is the way the world ends, not with a bang, but a whimper. Many thanks to Claude. Many thanks to Matt Champagne for his beautiful recording and videography. And you see that Matt used a few special effects in these last 2 videos. See you in a few minutes to tell you about next week. the way that Matt Champagne took that last piece, put it in black and white, and then faded it away and faded it away. It reminded me that while playing it, I sometimes wondered, especially by the time we would get to that last piece or last song, is the protagonist now a ghost? Has he somewhere in this journey frozen to death and now he's just in this kind of limbo state? Well, whatever limbo state I may be in, man, let's stop being in limbo and get back into real life and have some energy. Next week, wow, great springtime concert, great energy. Mark O'Connor, like I said, multiple Grammy winner, his wife Maggie, they are just such a fantastic duo. Both violinists. Mark also plays something called the mandocello, plays guitar. So he's a multi-instrumentalist, very famous for his Appalachian Waltz, which the recording of which with Yo-Yo Monica Meyer, so like 1 million copies or something, which is just astounding. Anyway, we're so fortunate that we're going to have this live concert. You'll be able to find it at gvmf.live next week, and it's going to be really cool. So here is Maggie to introduce a piece. This is, what it's going to look like as far as I know. This is them in their living room in North Carolina. So hope to see you next week. Thanks for being with us on this winter journey. Enjoy the O'Connors and have a great week.
For this next piece, Mark has a mandocello, which is this beautiful instrument here that is tuned like a cello, but it's in the mandolin family. We're going to do an old-time classic called Little Maggie.
Oh, how can I ever sing it just to see them two blue eyes shining in the moonlight like two diamonds in the sky? Oh, yonder stands little Maggie with a dream glass in her hand. She's drinking away her troubles. She's courted some modern man. Last time I saw little Maggie, she was sitting on the banks of the sea with a 44 around her and a mandocello on her knee. Lay down the last gold dollar, lay down your gold watch and chain. Little Maggie's gonna